Alrighty, so in today's video, what we're going to take a look at is we're at the cusp of the Civil War, and so we need to take a look at the two sides. And we're going to take a look at the Northern goal and its strategies, Southern goal and strategies, and the advantages and disadvantages of both sides. So you're going to have a chart to fill that out. And with each slide, you'll see the information up there. Things may or may not be underlined for you. If they're not, that's okay. Just find the answers, get your chart filled out. You can always pause this video at any time. All right, here. So first we're going to take a look at the United States of America and look at some basic information on it. Of course, the capital is Washington, D.C. President during the Civil War is Abraham Lincoln. And then, of course, some other names you'll hear used for the United States will be the Union, the North, the Feds or Federals, Blue, and Yankees or Billy Yank. So these are all synonymous names with the USA during the Civil War era. Typically in the videos, you'll either hear me use the term North or Union, but in other material, you'll hear some of these other terms. So it is important to know as we move forward with this. Now, as far as the Confederate States of America, their capital is in Richmond, Virginia. President is Mr. Jefferson Davis. Names would be the Confederacy, the South, Rebels or Johnny Reb, Gray, and Secesh, as in Secesh. Sorry, Secesh. So you don't really hear that last one very much at all, but it is just kind of one to know. Again, in videos I do, you'll hear me usually say Confederacy or the South. Okay, but again, other materials, other writings, maybe you may listen to a podcast or whatever it may be, and they will use some of these other terms, or you'll see it sometimes in writings as well. All right, so the Northern goal, okay, and this is key, is to preserve the Union. That is the initial goal as far as Abraham Lincoln is concerned as to why they go to war. And this is why most people see it. The element of slavery does come along, and of course slavery is intermixed in all the reasons why their two sides are at war, but it is not the case that the North is going to war to end slavery. However, when you see, I believe it was the first General Winifred Scott, old Fuss and Feathers, he actually would say that by firing the first shots on Fort Sumter, this was the greatest abolitionist. In other words, by doing this and by going to war, this will end up ending slavery because the South will be defeated. Okay? All right. Now, the Southern goal was to win recognition as an independent nation. Now, again, throughout the writings, Constitution, secession documents, all these things, the South talks about slavery and be able to keep slavery. But again, if you ask the individual soldier why they're at war, they will not tell you, oh, so we can keep slaves. In fact, majority of the soldiers do not even own slaves. Okay, and so this is slavery, again, is intertwined into all of this, but it's not the driving force in and of itself. Again, slavery is interwoven between all the things that separate North and South. Winning recognition as an independent nation for the South show that one of the reasons they can do things they can do is to keep slavery. Okay, that's the difference though. All right, Northern strategies. First of all, they did look to capture the Confederate capital in Richmond, Virginia. Then they looked to control the Mississippi River in order to split the Confederacy by east and west. And then they will look to blockade the southern ports to prevent imports and exports. And finally, seize Chattanooga, which was a major railroad junction. So this was the attack scenario or plan. A lot of this was actually developed and devised by Lincoln himself, and it was the plan really from after really about the first major battle there at some of the first major skirmishes and battles. This was the plan. put forth by the North. Now, it is a plan that will take some time to fully execute, but it is their strategy, and it is what Lincoln is thinking and planning as commander-in-chief drives him to do. All right, Southern strategy. 1, they try to receive aid from foreign nations by means of quote-unquote cotton diplomacy. This is very similar to what the United States did in its War of Independence with the British. And they are looking to outlast the North. They believe that the North will eventually lose their will to continue, and there's some truth in this. We see this a lot actually in the presidential election of 1864, where Lincoln has a real challenge on his hands. And there are many in the North who are looking to just be done with the war. They're tired of the death and all the things that come with that. And he does have to fight to hold on to his presidency. And for the most part, they look to fight a defensive war. They want to make the North fight on Southern soil. They know they have an advantage in the Southern soil. And for the most part, this is where they begin. Now, there are some times where they look to strike into the North. And had they been successful, might have changed the outcome of the war. All right, so let's take a look at the advantages of each side. So first of all, the Union of the North. This is where you'll find 90% of the factories. They have a better banking system. They have an actual navy, a regular navy. And they have excellent presidential leadership. And they have strong organized central government. So all these are things that they have at the beginning of the war. Okay? And so they have the factories, they have the money, they have a regular navy. Honestly, they also have more people. They have 71% of the total nation's population. Okay, it's a massive difference. So they can make a bigger army because they have more people. They can actually supply the army better because they have more factories, and they have more money to pay for, guns and ammunition and all the things that you need to run an army. On top of that, their presidential leadership is key to keeping them in the fight, as it were, keeping them focused on what is important and doing what needs to be done to win this war. Now, truth be told, as much as I love Abraham Lincoln as a president, he does do some very unconstitutional things, and in fact, the Supreme Court tells him he's unconstitutional in some of the things that he does, and he just ignores them. All right, so let's take a look at the Confederates. So their advantages, they're fighting on familiar land. It's in their neighborhood, and it creates a bit of a home field advantage for them. The people are massively behind it. In fact, after the first initial call up after the Battle of Fort Sumter, they have to actually turn away about 30% of the people who volunteered. And it's a way of life for them, something to fight for, and their military leaders are vastly superior to those in the North. Particularly Robert E. Lee, who was given an opportunity to serve in the North, but chose not to. All right, so your disadvantages. So the Union, bringing Southern states back into the Union would be difficult. This is the thing they have to fight. It's an uphill battle. And of course, they're fighting in unknown territory. All right, so you see here these advantages and disadvantages. They sort of flip a little bit. The Confederates, eventually that small population for an army comes back to haunt them big time as the casualties begin to pile up. The inability to supply the army becomes a problem, and the lack of railroad tracks really becomes a problem for the Confederacy later in the war. All right, so that's a brief snapshot of the two sides, everything from their goals, strategies, advantages, and disadvantages. If you missed any of it, definitely go back through the video and get what you need for your notes.